Spain's best regions to live, retire, and buy property in 2026. Spain gets talked about constantly in expat circles. And for good reason. It has the climate, the food, the infrastructure, and the culture that most people spending their entire working lives dreaming about retirement actually want. But here is where the conversation usually stops. People hear Spain and immediately think Barcelona, or Madrid, or Marbella. They picture eye-watering property prices, crowded beaches in August, and a cost of living that, frankly, is not much better than what they left behind. What gets far less attention is how dramatically Spain varies from one region to the next. The gap between an overpriced apartment on the Barcelona seafront and a 3-bedroom house in rural Extremadura is not just a price difference. It is a completely different way of life. And for those who are willing to look beyond the obvious choices, Spain in 2026 still offers some of the most compelling lifestyle and value propositions anywhere in Europe. In this video, we are going to break Spain down region by region. We will look at where the genuine value is, where property prices still make sense, which areas suit retirees versus remote workers, and where the quality of life genuinely punches above what you would expect at the price point. And as you will see, our top pick offers something the others simply cannot match. Keep in mind, the figures presented here are approximations meant to give you a sense of the cost of living. Always verify with up-to-date sources before making any decisions. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 7. Catalonia. Catalonia sits in the northeastern corner of Spain, sharing a border with France and Andorra to the north, with the Mediterranean running all along its eastern edge. Barcelona is the engine of the region, one of the most architecturally distinctive cities in Europe, and it draws a significant portion of Spain's international arrivals every single year. For expats with a healthy budget, Catalonia has a lot going for it. The infrastructure is excellent. Transport links to the rest of Europe are among the best on the Iberian Peninsula. The food culture is sophisticated. English is reasonably well spoken in Barcelona itself, and the expat community is large and well established. Moreover, the Costa Brava, which runs north of Barcelona toward the French border, offers genuinely beautiful coastline with considerably more charm than the more commercialized stretches further south. That said, Barcelona is now firmly in the category of European capital pricing. Rents in desirable central neighborhoods are broadly comparable to cities like Lisbon or Amsterdam, and property purchase prices in sought-after areas have climbed steadily over the last several years. Outside the city, in towns like Girona or Tarragona, costs drop noticeably. But Catalonia as a whole sits at the higher end of the Spanish spectrum. On the downside, the political environment around Catalan independence remains a live issue. For most day-to-day expat life this has little practical impact, but it creates periodic uncertainty that some buyers prefer to avoid. Number 6. The Basque Country. Tucked into the northern coast of Spain, the Basque Country is a region that tends to surprise people who encounter it for the first time. This is green, rugged, Atlantic Spain, nothing like the sun-bleached imagery most people associate with the country. San Sebastian, known locally as Donostia, is frequently cited in surveys of quality of life as one of the finest small cities in Europe. The food scene here is genuinely exceptional. The Basque Country has more Michelin-starred restaurants per capita than almost anywhere else on Earth, and the Pinzos bar culture in San Sebastian's Old Town is an experience that is hard to replicate anywhere. For retirees who place food and culture at the top of their priority list, this region delivers in a way that few others can. Cost of living, however, reflects the quality on offer. San Sebastian is among the most expensive cities in Spain when it comes to property and rental prices. Furthermore, the Atlantic climate means significantly more rain and grey skies than the Mediterranean south. Those who come expecting wall-to-wall sunshine will find a very different reality. That said, inland Basque towns and villages offer considerably more accessible pricing, and the region's transport connections, both by road and by rail to Madrid and France, are strong. Number 5. Valencia. The Valencia region stretches down the eastern Mediterranean coast and encompasses not just the city of Valencia itself but a long arc of coastline, agricultural land, and mid-sized towns. Valencia city sits roughly halfway between Barcelona and Alicante, and it has steadily grown in popularity as an expat and retiree destination over the past decade. The climate here is genuinely one of the best in continental Europe. Valencia claims more annual sunshine hours than almost any other major Spanish city, and the winters are mild enough that outdoor living continues year-round. The old city is beautiful, the transport network within the city is modern and affordable, and the food culture, including the home of authentic paella, is a serious draw. Cost of living in Valencia city itself sits at a moderate level by Spanish standards. Renting a comfortable apartment in a good neighborhood is broadly achievable at a reasonable budget, and the city remains noticeably cheaper than Barcelona or Madrid for both rentals and property purchases. Additionally, smaller towns along the Costa del Azahar to the north, or inland toward the interior, drop further still. The downside is that Valencia's popularity has been climbing sharply. Prices have already started moving, and some neighborhoods that were considered affordable even 3 years ago have seen meaningful rent increases. The city also experienced significant flooding in late 2024, which has raised questions among some buyers about flood risk in lower-lying areas. That is worth factoring into any property research. Number 4. Andalusia. Andalusia is the great arc of southern Spain, running from the Portuguese border in the west all the way to the point where Spain nearly touches North Africa in the east. It is the largest region in Spain by area, and it contains within it an enormous range of environments: Atlantic coastline, the whitewashed hill towns of the interior, the agricultural plains of the Guadalquivir Valley, the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the packed expat hotspots of the Costa del Sol. This region is where the bulk of Spain's English-speaking retiree community has historically settled. The Costa del Sol, anchored by Marbella and Malaga, is the most established expat corridor in the country. Infrastructure is well developed, English is widely spoken, and the international community is large enough that some arrivals barely need to engage with Spanish at all if they choose not to. Malaga city itself has emerged in recent years as a genuinely attractive proposition beyond just the expat resort circuit. It has a vibrant cultural scene, good restaurants, a functioning public transport system, and an international airport with strong connections. Property in central Malaga and nearby coastal towns has become more expensive as the city's profile has risen, but it remains accessible compared to equivalents in northern Europe. Further west, places like Cádiz province, and the towns around Jerez and the Costa de la Luz, offer a very different experience: fewer foreign tourists, more authentic Andalusian culture, Atlantic coastline, and considerably lower property and rental prices. Eastward, areas around Almería province are arguably the most undervalued stretch of Spanish Mediterranean coastline still on the map. The honest downside for much of coastal Andalusia is the summer heat. Interior Andalusia can push well above 40 degrees Celsius in July and August, and even the coast becomes uncomfortably hot and crowded. For those who plan to live there year-round rather than just winter, this is worth taking seriously. Number 3. Murcia and the Costa Cálida. Murcia is one of the most consistently overlooked regions in Spain among the expat and retiree community, which is a significant oversight given what it has to offer. Located in southeastern Spain, sandwiched between Valencia to the north, Andalusia to the south and west, and the Mediterranean to the east, Murcia is compact but varied. The Costa Cálida, Murcia's warm coastline, includes Mar Mena, Europe's largest saltwater lagoon, which has attracted retirees for decades thanks to its calm, shallow, warm waters. The regional capital, Murcia City, is a substantial, well-functioning Spanish city with a beautiful Baroque cathedral, a solid restaurant scene, and a fraction of the international profile of Valencia or Seville. Property prices here are among the most accessible of any Spanish Mediterranean region. Rural properties, townhouses in inland villages, and even coastal apartments can be found at price points that would be considered extraordinary by the standards of almost any Western European market. Furthermore, the cost of living in general, from grocery shopping to eating out to utilities, tends to run lower than in the more tourist-heavy regions to the north and south. Climate is a strong selling point. Murcia is one of the driest and sunniest regions in all of Spain and indeed in all of Europe. Winters are short and mild. The flip side of that is a genuine summer heat issue. Inland Murcia in particular experiences some of Spain's highest temperatures, and the region is increasingly affected by periods of drought. Water availability and climate resilience are worth factoring into any long-term thinking about buying property here. Spain's non-lucrative visa is the primary route for non-EU retirees looking to establish residency. It requires demonstrating sufficient passive income to support yourself without working in Spain, broadly speaking a figure in the range of around €2,500 per month for a single applicant, though the exact thresholds shift and are worth verifying directly with a Spanish consulate. Murcia is a viable base for this route given its lower day-to-day costs. Number 2. Extremadura. Extremadura sits on the western edge of Spain, bordering Portugal, and it is in many ways the antithesis of the Spain that fills travel magazines. There are no beach resorts here. No packed promenades. No international airport hub drawing budget airline traffic. What Extremadura has instead is something increasingly rare in Western Europe: genuine affordability, dramatic landscape, extraordinary historical heritage, and a pace of life that feels like it belongs to a different era. The region is the birthplace of many of the conquistadors who shaped the Americas. Towns like Cáceres and Mérida are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Cáceres in particular has one of the best preserved medieval old towns in Europe, its stone towers and cobbled squares entirely intact. Mérida contains some of the most impressive Roman ruins anywhere outside of Italy, including a theatre that still hosts performances today. For those who value history and architecture above beach access, this region is remarkable. On the cost of living side, Extremadura consistently ranks as one of the cheapest regions in Spain and one of the cheapest places to live in Western Europe as a whole. Renting a comfortable apartment in Cáceres or Mérida is achievable at a price point that would cover perhaps a small room in a shared flat in London or San Francisco. Property purchase prices, particularly in the small towns and villages that dot the region, can be startlingly low. Renovation properties, rural farmhouses with land, and village houses are available at figures that require a genuine double-take from anyone used to property markets in the UK, US, or Canada. Moreover, the food and wine culture in Extremadura is underrated. The region produces some of Spain's finest Jamón Ibérico, world-class olive oil, and the Ribera del Guadiana wines have been quietly improving in quality for years. Eating and drinking well here is exceptionally affordable. The honest downside is infrastructure and connectivity. Extremadura is not well served by high-speed rail, and getting to a major international airport requires planning. The regional economy is one of the weakest in Spain, and while this keeps costs low, it also means fewer services, fewer international residents, and fewer of the conveniences that expats from large cities are used to. For remote workers dependent on fast, reliable internet, urban centers like Cáceres are manageable, but rural properties can be patchy. Those seeking a community of fellow English-speaking expats will find it thin here compared to Andalusia or Valencia. Number 1. The Canary Islands. The Canary Islands sit off the northwest coast of Africa, roughly 1,100 kilometers south of mainland Spain, and they represent something that no other region on this list can offer: year-round spring-like weather, with average temperatures across the archipelago rarely dropping below 18 degrees Celsius in winter or climbing excessively in summer. That specific quality, the reliable, temperate climate sustained throughout all 12 months, is the single most powerful lifestyle advantage of any Spanish territory. There are 7 main islands, and they vary considerably. Gran Canaria and Tenerife are the largest and most developed, with strong infrastructure, large expat communities, excellent healthcare facilities, and well-established international connections. Las Palmas de Gran Canaria in particular has emerged as a genuine digital nomad and retiree hub, with a walkable city layout, a metropolitan beach in the middle of the urban area, and a cost of living that remains noticeably lower than the mainland Spanish cities of comparable quality. Lanzarote and Fuerteventura offer more dramatic volcanic landscapes, stronger winds, and a slightly more laid-back pace. La Palma, La Gomera, and El Hierro are for those who want seclusion, dramatic scenery, and a genuine departure from mass tourism. Each island has a distinct character, which means the archipelago as a whole accommodates a wide range of preferences. On the property side, the Canaries offer accessible entry points relative to mainland coastal Spain. Areas outside the main tourist zones on Gran Canaria and Tenerife still have residential property markets where value exists, and the rental market, while tightening in popular areas, remains more manageable than Barcelona or Madrid. Furthermore, the islands enjoy a special tax regime within Spain, with lower VAT rates than the mainland and certain other fiscal advantages, which contributes to slightly lower prices on goods and services. The expat and retiree community across the islands is large, multilingual, and well integrated. Healthcare in the main urban centres is of a high standard. Flight connections to the UK, Germany, the Netherlands, and Scandinavia in particular are frequent year-round, not just seasonal. For retirees who want to maintain regular visits home, or receive regular visitors from family, this matters considerably. The residency route is the same as mainland Spain, Spain's non-lucrative visa for non-EU nationals, and the Canaries' lower cost of living can make meeting the financial thresholds more comfortable in practice. Savvy investors have already started buying in certain residential pockets across Gran Canaria and Tenerife, and prices in popular areas have been trending upward. The downside is honesty about what the islands are not. They are geographically isolated. Getting to mainland Europe, or to anywhere that is not served by a direct flight, requires a connection through Madrid or another hub. For those who value easy overland travel, the road trip to France, or the train to Portugal, none of that is available here. And while the climate is exceptional, it can feel monotonous to some after extended periods. The lack of proper seasons is something that genuinely divides people. But for those whose primary goal is a high quality of daily life, reliable sunshine, manageable costs, good healthcare, a strong expat community, and easy flight access to home, the Canary Islands sit at the top of Spain's regional options in 2026. Nothing else on this list combines all of those factors in the same way. And there you have it. 7 of Spain's most compelling regions for living, retiring, and buying property in 2026. From the historic stone streets of Extremadura to the year-round warmth of the Canary Islands, Spain remains one of the most varied and rewarding countries in Europe for those willing to look beyond the obvious choices. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. We cover destinations like this every week. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.